once I'm in my head, if my brain is really moving, then it's fucking tricking me because my feet are supposed to be moving. Because if my feet move, my brain will follow it. They have no choice. But if my brain starts moving, it will make my feet stay where they are because my brain will think it's taking me places. Man, my brain ain't taking me anywhere. My brain taking me down there behind the alley, you know? And it's going to fucking hit me with a broomstick or something. Or make me think I'm not, maybe getting that carrot. That carrot's always dangling, isn't it? You notice that there's always a carrot. Like every day I wake up, there's some carrot. There's that little frickin' orange vegesicle just kind of hanging in the distance for me. Whatever it is, it could be a financial gain. It could be a love. I want to get a love or a sex. It could be an apology I need to make. But there's always something out in front of me that I'm moving towards. Usually. I think anyway, I'm just trying to think what, there's always something out in front of me that I'm moving towards, that I want, or sometimes that I need, but there's always a carrot. There's always a carrot that gets you, that is out in front of you. And sometimes they're ones that, you put out there, they're goals. Sometimes they're ones that the, I guess ambitions. I wonder what the difference between a goal and an ambition. A goal, I think an ambition like drives a goal, because if you have a goal, if you want to get something, say if they have something and it's somewhere and you want to get there, then that's a goal. An ambition, that's the gasoline that you put in your tank, or that's in your tank, that gets you over to that something that gets you there. So ambition, I think, is basically is your gasoline that gets you to a goal. You got to have that ambition, I think. Also have no idea. But yeah, there's always a carrot that kind of gets me going. And I'm just trying to, right now, just make sure that my carrots are out of a good garden. That's what I'm trying to think about. Because, I've just noticed, like, what's the value maybe in popularity? What's the value in it? Because I guess what I'm starting to say is that for me, I feel like it doesn't make me feel any different. And I don't want it to. That's what I'm saying. The ego just seems so dangerous, and it just seems dangerous, and it seems so self-serving. And it's like, you just see so much greed out there. Even you open the newspaper, you see greed. You see these, to me, it seems like news networks are demanding what the government should do. And it's just because of money. People are just being greedy. And, you just see people say, I just want to be aware of what my carrots are, I guess. I just want to be aware of what my carrots are. What is driving me over here? What is making me, and I just want them to come out of a good garden, and that's I guess what I'm thinking about. Sorry to go on that long tangent, but I just want to know I want to be conscious of what my carrots are, because a lot of times in our life a lot of times in my life, I've been led towards carrots that I didn't even know what they were made out of, or who put them there, or what was going on. And those carrots can be anything. They can be money. They could be fame. They could be, it could be power. And we just need to be, or I need to be conscious of what the carrots are in my world, and that I don't get, that I don't be chasing no dirty carrots. I don't want no dirty carrots, dude. I don't want no baby carrots. You feel me? I ain't trying to do anything like that. Like some of these rich people in the Hollywood Hills, they'll be ordering, baby carrots. You're like, damn, how many are you going to have today, buddy? Seem like you've had a few too many if you're not a real baby. But I just want to be conscious of my carrots, man. But I felt like I was in a beautiful garden this weekend, and I just want to say thank you for that. I'm not trying to be this emo guy that's out here fucking whining and shit and like that and fucking, you know, throwing, throwing fucking, dirty handkerchiefs down a wishing well or something. But whatever, man. I like to think about what I'm feeling or feel about what I'm thinking, and that's how. There's nothing I can do about it. That's who I am, and sometimes it's fun, and sometimes it's not as much fun. And sometimes, but I'm grateful that I have people like those guys I stopped in, and there was a nice thing that Brendan said. He said, "Hey man, the other day I felt like you weren't feeling that good," and he goes, "And I felt bad because I didn't know what to say to make you feel better." And I thought that was one of the most touching things that I'd really heard. Brendan and I joke around a lot. We do a podcast called King and the Sting, and we joke around a lot. And but I thought that was a very, it was a very nice thing for him to say. He said he grew up and his mom was, his mom suffered from some addiction issues, and he never knew how to talk to her to make her feel better. And just him saying that made me just, even then I just, you just know right then that you have friends and people around you to talk to and that have your back. And that's what it is. That's all you can ask when you're having times where you're going through some tough moments is someone to be there to listen to you and just try and help you make you feel okay. And I got a lot of that from the listeners and also from just stopping in there. And Brian is so smart, man, isn't he? And he's so brave about, just this is who I am, he says, and I'm going to have times like this and I'm going to have times like that, but this is who I am and this is the path that I'm on. And man, he has such a great energy. And I hear from everybody that comes out and that has seen a lot of comedians, and they often comment on how much fun his show is. Both of those guys have unique gifts inside of them to make other people feel happy. Do you notice that? I think that's why people love The Fighter and the Kid.
It made me realize that, sometimes you just got to talk to somebody, which I don't like to do. I'd rather be quiet and be left alone.
I feel you, man. I feel you there. And that, I appreciate your call. And thanks for calling and sharing that. I know it's sometimes it's hard to do that. And it's hard to do it when you're leaving a voice message but I appreciate you. I don't want you to think that went unnoticed or unheard. And you mentioned a couple of things. We don't want to talk to others. We don't want to do things. We don't want to go out. And that's depression's, its tricks. That's its tricks. It teaches you to stay by yourself, stay over here, do this, stay inside. And there's scientific evidence that depression, it grows on itself. So the less you reach out, the less you have little things over here, Make your buddy a carrot. Oh, I got to talk to freaking Lawrence today. Make him a carrot. I got to get a little nibble off of Donna. I make Donna a carrot. You got to reach out. And that's how you break it. I'm not telling you what to do, but I am sharing from my experience. And I got to get my feet moving. I find once I'm in my head, if my brain is really moving, then it's fucking tricking me because my feet are supposed to be moving. Because if my feet move, my brain will follow it. They have no choice. But if my brain starts moving, it will make my feet stay where they are because my brain will think it's taking me places. Man, my brain ain't taking me anywhere. My brain taking me down there behind the alley, And it's going to fucking hit me with a broomstick or something or make me think I'm not good enough. Or do this or do that or do something, make me think about jerking off or something, watching internet and watching, booties and all of that and dirty sex on there. And we're better than that, man. That's why we got to put our carrots. You got to plant your carrots out there when you're feeling bad. No matter what, I'm going to call this person and check on them. It's a reverse bro. That depression is a reverse psychology. I find if I call, Todd and I call little Eldrick, and I call Big Gisha, right? Next thing you know, I'm, hey, how are you doing? What's going on with you? And I hear what's up with them. Now I've done something. I've helped somebody else a little. I've been an ear for them. And now the better parts of me feel a little bit of empowerment. And then I get my feet moving. I go to the gym. I go for a walk. I go do something. I don't let my brain walk. I try not to anyway. But yes, like you said, we all do it and we all go through it. And those are things that work for me. Contrary action. My brain tells me to stay in bed. I get out of bed. You know, I don't want to go to the gym or do yoga. I fucking go. Isn't that because that's the hardest thing? Oh, I don't want to do. Your brain's like, man, I don't want to do this shit, and then you fucking do it, showing my brain who's boss and showing my emotions who is boss. Because we have to sometimes, man. We have to. We owe it to ourselves, you know. But thank you for your call, man, and keep your head up, you know, and keep your feet moving. And just take the next right action. Do the next right thing you need to make yourself feel okay. Sometimes it's go get a bowl of cereal. Sometimes it's take a walk. Sometimes it's call someone else. But sometimes I feel like doing something, and then I just won't do it, even though I know it's good for me. Even if it's the littlest thing. Do the dishwasher.